What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got a special video for you, as you've seen by the title. Look up where it is. We've got Adam Hlozek going to go a little bit of analysis on him, what works, where he'll fit into Leicester City, why I think this is a great signing, in my opinion, and again, explore a little bit about him, some pros, some cons, and we'll also do a player comparison. What kind of players he's similar to that have played for Leicester City in a similar position. Again, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, all that good stuff. Apart from that, let's get into them. So for those of you that haven't seen, as you can see here, this is a tweet from Fabrizio Romano, who was exclusive to Break This. Again, this one that's another transfer this season that's come out of nowhere. As you can see here, it says Hlozek has designed to join Leicester as a deal between the two clubs. He can from Bayer Leverkusen. And the player's contract that we completed is something I want to get and mention later. 20 million package euro with the option to buy if Leicester avoid relegation. So it is at the moment a loan with the option to buy, similar to Fatau, which we'll probably get onto in a bit as well, if we stay up this season. I think this is a really important point. Obviously, with the points deduction and things like that, this is a really important point. We're going to get into the specifics of the deal and stuff in a bit. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the player. So looking at this, you can see here, again, he's a Czech international. He's young, again, 22 years old, and he's got a height of 1.86 m for a centre forward. Again, that's pretty good going. He plays as a forward with a right foot. That's different to like a Kelechi Iheanacho, who I believe is left-footed. But where can he play? So he can play in multiple positions, and these are positions that we're looking at. Ignore the strengths and weaknesses for now. I'm going to go through them from the things that I've found, so the pros and cons. So he can play as a striker. He can potentially play on either wing. Again, reading into his earlier career, he actually played on the left wing and the right wing. So he can play in positions all across the front three. But his main position is playing as that second striker or attacking midfielder. Now, this is a position that we've needed in the squad for quite a while. You look at the game that we played against Lons, and that was, again, it was blaringly obvious that we needed one. Now we're getting potentially two. We'll talk about that, why this has come out of absolutely nowhere in a bit. But what kind of player is it? So he tends to play, as you mentioned, as a number 10 or as a second striker. Now, for Leverkusen, his games this season have been, or last season has been limited. He was one of the best talents to come out of the Czech Republic. He was playing for Sparta Prague, I think it was. And again, as a good player, really talented, really, really high ceiling. But just when he's got his big move to go to Leverkusen and take his career on to the next level, it's not really happened. And Leicester City are trying to capitalize on that. So in terms of that, again, he's got a good skill set. He's good with his feet. He's technical. He's got a good goal scoring instinct. It just hasn't worked at Leverkusen. Another thing I've got here, just from my notes from Red, again, as mentioned before, he's versatile. He can play in a number of positions. We'll get into some of the formations and how he'll fit into like a front three, a 4-2-3-1, a 3-5-2 is probably the positions that I think would play here with him in the team. He's got a good goal scoring as mentioned before as well, and he's got a nice combination of pace and physicality. I think this is exactly what we need coming into this team. Again, he's been limited in terms of minutes. So I think, again, on average, just looking at this, he's averaged a goal every 248 minutes. However, that's not been a lot in terms of, because he's been limited for the number of goals and time he's actually spent on the pitch, kind of like Kelechi Iheanacho was this season. And again, he's been as a really, really high rated player. But we're going to get into some of the formations and going to try and compare him to a couple of players that you probably would. So the first formation I'm going to show you is a 4-3-3. As we can see from this hand side, again, it's a little bit off. Let me just put this right. This is how I can see him playing as a single striker. Now, I know he's played as a second striker, but I think he would play in a similar role to what Kelechi Iheanacho would do at Leicester City. And one of the roles that Kelechi worked really, really well with was a 4-3-3. People think of it as a front two, and I'll show you that in a bit. But in terms of what we happen, so we've got, again, Hlozek, and I've got a feeling this is something we'll try and implement this season. He will come towards the ball, try and link with the likes, again, Winks playing the ball in, and then we're going to play. And then what you'll have is the likes of Mavididi and Fatau, potentially even running off this side and then putting the ball in the back of the net, getting to those goal scoring positions high up. And then you've got Hlozek that can come in, potentially act as a final striker as well. But I think his role, just like, Harvey Barnes linked up really, really well with Kelechi Iheanacho, I think he could work in a similar way here. So if we're playing as a single striker, he'd play as more of a false nine, trying to bring other people into play. I think the advantage of, obviously, if you've got in the front three, if you've got an attacking fullback like Ricardo, either coming on the inside, Fatau going on the inside, I think could be a really useful strategy as well, trying to bring him in. And then Justin will come in on the overlap with Mavididi. So then if you've got your front three, again, you've got that formation of the front five. And this is something that, again, a lot of top managers do. So we'll see the fullback bombing on. Again, I'll put the equal to a Reed in here as well. I don't think it's the position he can play, but I imagine that he'd try and pick up this free role, either going left, right, and Buonanotte could play in this position as well, giving Hlozek the ability to link up, drive back, and then run into the box for the final score as well. So I put a front three because this base, I was going to put Samori in, and there's links to him leaving, but that kind of player alongside Winks and Diddy, just to kind of sweep up and clear that midfield. But it's like a midfield three, allowing the fullbacks to bomb on, but also giving the best out of Mavididi and Fatau in this formation. Another formation, again, a traditional 4-4-2. I could see him playing up top in a front two as a second striker. So you'd see him take on, again, a 4-4-2, classic Leicester City when we won the league. And I could see him potentially playing in this cam role, similarly to what Okazaki did for Leicester City. Mavididi will play more as an out-and-out winger, same with Fatawu. But again, Fatawu will probably do that and then drift on the inside, just like Mahrez did, then come in and shoot. So I could see this being a formation like a 4, again, and that's very similar to a 4-3-2-1. So again, these two formations are very, very similar. I think he would work better as just off the 10, with compared to like a James Maddison, who was more of this number 8 out and out number 10. But again, bringing other players into the team, and compared to when James Maddison left, a lot of the work was down to him trying to sort it out. And maybe if Harvey Barnes would turn up in a game, then it would work. But now we've got that balance to the team where we're less reliant on that creative player. We've got Fatau, Mavididi, and it's more of a balanced team overall. Then you've got kind of your Winston and Diddy as your two holding midfielders, then Justin and Ricardo probably sitting back. This could be a formation, especially when we're in defence. I could see him playing up alongside Vardy, and if we're under the cosh of it, we could see again this formation where we've seen it before. Goes for 4-4-2 out of possession, and we're kind of buying down the hashes, and he'd play alongside Jamie Vardy. Similar position to similar formation as well, like this, to what we did under Enzo Maresca when we were out of possession. We kind of compacted the pitch and we played a 4-4-2, didn't give him a lot of space, and was quite hard to play against. Another team, another formation that we could play could be a 3-5-2. Now, we've seen this before where you've got the likes of, again, a 3 at the back. So Fast, Vestergaard and Akoli at the back. Again, Winkson and Diddy as the holding double pivot. I've actually put Buonanotte in so you can get that opportunity for an out-and-out cam, giving us the creativity in the centre of the park that we really need. Obviously, I've put a bit of a weird one. I've put as left wing back, I've put Ricardo, who I think could do a job there as well. James Justin could do it, but I think you need a bit more creativity from that, which I put him in. And then Fatau, I think, could do a really good job as right wing back as well. We could potentially swap them over, but I think you give Fatau that free role on that right hand side to again go back and track, but also to the opportunity to come in. The reason why I've showed you this is, again, we've got this strong 6 up top. Seven up top even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got again the opportunity to probably Winks and Ndidi to stay behind again and defend the back 3. So you've got again they can hold a double pivot. Buonanotte, who again is a new player that's signed. I did a video with Diego, so make sure you go and check that one out. Can play this number 10 position, but this means again Hlozek and Vardy will play as the top 2. Similar to when Kelechi Iheanacho really thrived in this position where he had somebody up front. And I think this formation could work really well for us. Do I think the wing backs get involved as much? No. Again, this could potentially turn to a 3-4-3. Again, with Buonanotte coming into this position, even though he's not as accurate, or potentially we could have something like Hlozek dropping in, for Tau coming on the overlap. Again, there's loads of different ways to do it, but potentially like a 3-5-2 could work quite well for this team. And then you've got the opportunity to get Buonanotte, giving him the space and the freedom with like some Winks and Ndidi covering behind. And then Hlozek can be that player, just like we saw when we had those load of injuries. We had to play Jamie Vardy and Clecciato top. Again, I think it's a really good formation to play potentially. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually compare him to a player that, again, I've mentioned so many times before, and it would be surprising if we mentioned him. And I was really surprised by some of these statistics regarding him and how high his ceiling is. So, I've compared him to Kelechi Iheanacho, and I'm going to look for the last 2 seasons. Let's go to August 2023. Yes, everybody was crap that season. And bearing in mind, Hlozek would have been 20 in this. But you look at the results again. Iheanacho is in the Iheanacho is again, he would have been 24 at the time, and he is in the like purple blue color, and green is Hlozek for this one. So you can see again in the 2023 season. Bear in mind we went down. The creativity, he's Iheanacho is better at creativity, attacking, and but technical ability, he's better. Iheanacho is better as well. Tactics, again, Hlozek is slightly better, and defensive, he's slightly better. I think it would be more physical as well. If we take that forward to this season, bearing in mind both of them haven't had a lot of minutes this season, you can actually see something quite different. As we can say, the attacking wise, bearing in mind Hlozek's only been limited for time, and he's only 22 years old. Creativity, he's slightly just on the same level as him. Technicality is just about the same. Attacking wise, is just about the same. Defensively, slightly better, and tactics for Hlozek will be actually slightly better as well, which I think is a really, really good thing to see for a young player, up and coming, talented. I think he could be again a really good asset to this team. And the reason why I've compared to Iheanacho, he plays a lot as a second striker, Hlozek, and I think he can play on his own, bring other people into the game, which I think is great. But also, I think he could play as a front two, as an option coming off the bench as a super sub. And I think this is a really smart move for us. So I'm going to get into some of my thoughts around that. So another player that I think that we talk about a little bit is Andre Kramaric. And he had a similar problem where he came to the club, good player, really highly rated, and it didn't quite click for him. He went to Hoffenheim and did good things for Croatia as well in the attacking positions, got them to finals, etc. And I think that's a player that we look back and go, it was just the wrong player at the wrong time. And I think that's exactly the same thing that's Hlozek for Bayern Munich. The reason why they're selling him, he doesn't really fit their system as well. I think they've bought in another player. Let me see if I can find the name of it. Martin Terrier. So again, it looks like his minutes are going to be even more limited. I just don't think it works for him. It's just one of them that hasn't worked. He made a big money transfer, just like Fatau did to Sporting Lisbon, and he just didn't fit the formation. If they play a 3-4-3, didn't really work. I'm hoping we can do something similar with him. And we saw how the team really gets behind Fatau and how we absolutely love him as one of our favourite players in the squad. A couple of things to mention in terms of, we look at some of the pros in terms of versatility and technical ability, but some other things I want to mention. Number one, it's been reported confidence-wise, he needs a little bit more nurturing. And I think somebody like a Steve Cooper, but the facilities and the people we have at Leicester City will really get that and hopefully get the best out of him. The consistency has been up and down with him. He needs a consistent run of games, and I think he will turn good, but he's not had that consistency so far under Leverkusen. I think this is where Leicester are going, look, we've had this player, Fatau was similar, but we just need to nurture him and turn him into a real world beater. So consistency, I think, is one area that he could improve on, and I think he will improve on that at time. And part of that is another element, which is decision making. Sometimes he could potentially rush decisions or make the wrong decisions due to lack of confidence or not too sure where he's supposed to play at what time. I think that could be a definite issue for us. But you're going to get that with a young player. That just needs to be coached out of him. And we've got the right squad, and we've got the right manager, and we've got the right ethos in the club to develop young talent, just like we did for Tau and a few other players that are at the club, and turn them from players that are under 20 or under 20, 22 years old, and then turn them into better players for the long term that fit into the squad well. Another thing as well, obviously, he's played Czech football, he's played German football, Bundesliga, but he's not played the English game. This is always an area of concern for me when we buy players from abroad. How quickly do they adapt to the Premier League? You don't get a lot of time on the ball. It's physical, and I think he's built physically wise for the Premier League at 186, the second striker. And this is potentially a player that we could capitalize on. Nothing I've not mentioned. We've from attacking set pieces, etc. We've got Buonanotte now, who's probably going to come on to set pieces. I don't know how good he is, to be honest with you. I think I mentioned it to Diego in the video that we did. But decision making and aerial threat. I don't know how much of an aerial threat he actually is. Again, I'm not going to pretend like I do in terms of headed goals, etc. And I think this is an area that we could really work on. Set pieces have been a hindrance of us so far, both defending them and attacking them. This is an area that I think we could contribute to. If we could get a couple of goals or a couple of points from set pieces, that will really help us out this season. Overall, I think this is a really good deal for us. We've argued it in good terms, the fact that we're only going to sign him if we go into if we stay in the Premier League, which I think is a really good point. I think he is a really, really bright talent. And this is exactly what we talk about. Getting in a young player, developing them, and then selling them on for more money, reinvest that money back in the squad. So he's versatile, he's technical, he's everything that we were looking for. My only thing is now we've brought in Buonanotte. How will that affect things? But saying that, we still play James Maddison and Kelechi Iheanacho in the same team in a 3-5-2, and that managed to work for us quite well. I think this is probably one of the strongest signings we've made. And I think I wouldn't say it was forced. We probably had this for a bit. I was just surprised it took so long for Leicester to get this done. We needed this a while ago. I thought, again, difficult to read was a good one. But again, is he the cam that's going to keep us in the Premier League? No. And Steve Cooper, I think after the game against Lons, was really frustrated by the fact that he was probably promised, just like a few managers, oh, you get this player and X, Y, Z. And then when it comes to we're coming towards the game of the season, we're coming towards the Tottenham game within a week's time. Where's the player? Where's my players that you promised that I was going to? And the club has probably looked at the last 3 results and go, crap, we need some attacking creativity. We've brought in Buonanotte. Now we've brought in Hlozek, looks like as well. I think he's going to be a good player for us. But what's going to need is time, attention, and also he's going to need an arm around him. And I think that's, again, as great as Xavi's been, I think they've had better attacking options, which is why they've gone for him over the likes of Hlozek. In the same way that Kelechi Iheanacho is a really good player, but he just didn't get the minutes at Leicester City. But he's still a good player, but Sevilla would make a good move for him. So that's my thoughts on it. Hopefully you've enjoyed these kind of videos. Again, I love doing these breakdowns, etc. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, welcome Hlozek to Leicester City. We'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.